Hello, everybody. It's the old bear from the old bear's den of Bigfoot. And tonight we are going to have Wallowa Sasquatch with us. He's here with me in West Virginia, in case anybody didn't know. And we're going to talk about his first sighting. And I want to ask him some pertinent questions pertaining to his sighting. And then after that, if we have time, I have a live uh, thing on Discord tonight also. So if you would like to come to it, you feel free to come to it. Uh, Reach out to me through my email. I can send you a link to come onto the Discord. Um, anyway, I've got Wallowa here. Like I said, he's here with me, and there's been some. There has been some things going on lately, and um, not real happy with a few people right now. Um, uh, Everybody knows about what from my last video that I was a little bit upset, um, and I mentioned two people's names. Well, the one gentleman reached out through Facebook, which he's only on Facebook now anyway. And when he reached out through Facebook, he made a few comments, and I really don't care to repeat them because it's not worth my time. And then the other person I mentioned sent me an instant message and told me that I should call him and talk to him and not talk to him about it on my channel. Well, I don't have time for liars. I don't have time for people that want to make false claims about Bigfoot. I don't have time for people that want to uh, make Bigfoot seem more than it is. In order to get views and to make money. I'm not in this for money. I could care less. Uh, in the last year, I may have made $700 from YouTube, maybe 800 at the most. I don't make money off this. $800 is part of a week's paycheck for me, and I don't care. Uh, Heck, from here on out, I might just decide not to even monetize the channel. I might just not monetize nothing on this channel just to prove I'm not in this for money. And I ain't like everybody else. I'm not going to lie to you about Bigfoot. I'm not going to tell you that Bigfoot can walk into portals. I'm not going to tell you Bigfoot shimmers and disappears in front of people. That's just not me. I'm going to tell you from real world experience of 30 years of doing this, I've never seen a Bigfoot, ever seen a Bigfoot, male or female or child, walk into a portal. Never happened. I've seen them walk out of view. Yes. Seeing one is a traumatizing experience for most people. It was for me for the first time. And we're going to get into that with Wallowa. And don't worry, we've got him nice and warm and cozy here in the house. And we got Cecil here too. Uh, we love the both of them. Wallowa was a good friend, has been for quite a while, and I'm glad to see everybody come on. There's 24 of you here in the chat now, and I want to. I'm going to bring in Wallowa, but he's better known as KG. In case you didn't know, and if he comes dancing across my floor into the frame, we gave him too much pop today. He's on a sugar high. Sorry. So we're we're just trying to make him fat, you know. Fatten him up.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Hold on. There you go. Now we got him here. Hi, buddy.
Oh, and Cecil's right here.
Of course, he's got to get in the picture. Cecil, be careful, buddy. Yeah, he's got to get in the picture. He's got to make his presence known. He's a very lovable friend. He's not a pet. He's a friend. Well, KG, I'm glad to have you here tonight.
We've talked about this, so it's good that as I've learned things
Mm-hmm.
since my sighting. Of course, I was still driving truck when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I had a traumatizing experience with being burned by hot tar and was taking time off. And there were times I'd write something down that I remembered, and I kept track of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'd come across things when I was living in Utah and in Oregon, I would write memories down that I was making. There was comparisons to sounds I'd heard. And I've reviewed all that, and I'm able to go back and put those pieces together, and explain. I've been interviewed twice before, and I feel really uncomfortable. I kind of just shut down mentally, because of the questions that were being fired at me, and I wasn't able to. It was, I wasn't able to recall everything that I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
When you prepare yourself for an interview, here I don't have to prepare myself.
No.
And so I'm able to reflect on the whole thing from the beginning to the end, and do it in a way to where I'm not stopping to elaborate on something or it's all in order. I don't have to go back unless I say something and then in reference to something that was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe do a little bit of explaining there on that. But as I've told you, it was a very highly personal experience. I took that sighting personally, and so if you want to start by asking me some questions, or if you want me to get right into it, I get right into it. But so you decide where you want to start.
Well, I'd like to start with, why don't you tell me what you were doing up in that area, and I know you said you were up there fishing, and you had a family member with you.
Panning for gold. A future family member with me. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell me what happened the day before? Let's start the day before you had your sighting. Was it an eventful day? Did you have a lot of? Did you catch a lot of fish? First question I want to know.
Yeah, I caught a lot of fish. He found color. I took time to pan for gold, and we'll go back a couple of days prior to that. Get Jordan. He was very, very knowledgeable about the outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to learn how to pan for gold. Already knew how to fish,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd asked him. I said, "You want to come up into the mountains with us?" I said, "I'm going to take off." I said, "I can't sit around here. I was burned real bad, and from hot tar, and so I'd gone up the first 2 nights. I went up there by myself, and I was camped at a campground.
Anything happened at the campground?
No, nothing. Where I was camped, I had noticed that there was there had been a bear close to my camp, scratching on a tree, and I had been downriver, and I come back across the other side of the river and crossed right there where coming towards the campground. And there was a lady and a couple of kids that were playing in the river, and she had said to me there's some kind of strange noises coming from the woods up there. And I said, yeah, I heard something too. I don't know what it was, but I know what it was now. It was vocalization.
Mm-hmm.
It was jabbering noises, like
Wait a second. How long did it take you to figure out that it was vocalizations that you heard?
as soon as the lady said that she heard them too.
You knew that it knew right at
Because
that moment
my
that
comment,
it was
my comment in return to her was probably a Sasquatch, not really knowing for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but I believed in him all my life.
Okay.
I knew I was in an area where strange occurrences had happened in the past.
All right.
This was above Camas, Utah, on the Upper Provo River below Iron Mine Mountain. So that night, I decided, well, I'm going to drive down, use the phone. We didn't have cell phones then, and I didn't have one anyway. And I went to the phone booth at the gas station, and I called my future second wife and asked her. I said, "Ask George if he wants to come up to camp." He mentioned that he wanted to come with me, and it was still doing something. I don't remember what it was. I think he had a paper route or something. He did have a paper route. Yeah, he had a paper route, I think, handing out the weekly, the ads, and all that.
So he was an industrious young man.
Yeah, he was already wanting to go to work, and now he's a dentist.
That's awesome.
But so I drove back to Salt Lake to get him, and I broke camp completely from where I was at in the campground, and went upriver about a mile
above the campground
to a place I had hiked to where I was camped.
Okay.
That first time, and I picked out a spot where there was a lot of color, really good fishing in through there. And I started noticing a few things that I can recall now of manipulated structures. You know, there was a structure that was on the other side of the river, and from where that lady had been standing, I've seen this structure. I've seen it. It was a big, huge teepee type thing, and I'd never seen that, paid attention to anything like that before. And all through all these years, when very first time I found a teepee, I thought it came to my mind. I've seen something like that before, and I started remembering, even as back into my childhood, growing up on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, that I'd seen stuff sort of like this before, and never really knew what it was. So,
I think many people have done that.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people that have said that to me, that they remember seeing stuff, especially, up on the Olympic Peninsula or over eastern Washington on the east side of the Cascades. So, we're up there. Nothing happened the first night.
Okay.
Nothing happened. But towards that first evening, when I say nothing happened, nothing that I recognized.
Okay.
But on one side of the river, right at dark, that first night, there was sounds like strange callings.
When you say strange callings, are you talking about like Bigfoot roaring, or were they?
It was more like cooing.
As in a dove does, or as an owl?
It's sort of like an owl, but not quite. It wasn't, because there was an owl that was on a big tree. That was strange because it was like he was there all the time, just watching. And sometimes he would position himself. He'd take off. When he'd come back, he would be looking across the river. And so this owl, as I've gone back and recalled all this, must have been aware that something was going on.
He probably could see across the river and see what into the underbrush and everything else that was over there, that there was something walking around. It's probably what he was seeing.
Right. And so I paid close attention to the owl, and I recognize the significance of the owl from my people when I lived on the reservation for 3 years. That an owl can represent an upcoming event in your life
Okay.
because they're wise.
Right.
They're referred to as wise, and um, they're to be paid attention to if they're close to your camp. They're they can be a great alarm because they will let you know if something's around. It's predatory. They just have a natural instinct to do that. Same with ravens and any predator bird, any bird of prey.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the cooing noise, and then it was coming from another location too. And I didn't know what it was. I really didn't.
Well, I mean, you believed in Bigfoot, but you didn't know about Bigfoot. That's the big difference.
Right. So the next morning we got up really early, and instead of going fishing, we went and did some scratches in the dirt, showing him how to pan for gold. And he said he could hear. He was upriver from me a little bit, and I was down where this log jam was. There was a big gravel bar right there. And he was up on this other gravel bar, and he said I could hear something in the woods. And all of a sudden there was this big splash, and this big log come floating down the river. I mean, it was, you know, as big as your gun case over there, as long, big around, that big around. Wow. We both, whoa. And she said, come on, over there. He's a hand chaser. It really irritates me. He'll scratch you with one hand, you stop, he'll go to your other hand. It's like a kid.
He loves attention.
He always wants attention, which is good. I always gave him attention, but I don't like the hand chasing thing. And that really disturbed both of us. What was that? Because we heard the splash.
Right. But once you saw the log, did you think it just fell, or do you think
we just dismissed it as
just something that normally happens?
Well, no, because nothing like that's ever happened before when I've been in the wilderness, Okay. I've never had a log hit the. You can hear it hit the splash, and it comes floating by. And at that time, I didn't know we were in a hunting zone. And I know for a fact, I can say this for a fact, I know we were in there and they were on a hunt.
Okay.
That was apparent. Is it what? And later in the afternoon, a whole bunch of elk and deer. The elk came across first from the heavily, deeply forested side of the river. Where I was camped, the forest was also on that side of the river for quite a ways in both directions.
Okay.
And that was one of the places where you're completely away from people. There's no road that goes in there. We had to park 100 yards away and pack everything into there. So the deer came after the elk. There was probably 8 elk.
Okay.
But there was probably about 20 deer.
That's yeah. That would be.
And that's
a lot of animals.
That's cool. That's cool.
What did you think made them just cross the river? Did they just want to cross the river? Is that what you thought, or did you think there was something else?
Didn't know.
You just didn't know.
You think about bear, mountain lion, or something maybe hunting them. Those kind of thoughts went back and forth between us, but nothing significant pertaining to. There's a big Sasquatch out there somewhere, or more. I didn't know. I didn't know nothing about that. And we had caught some fish and of course cooked those up, and I made some hamburger stew and foil, campfire stew, cowboy stew.
All right.
And so
now you're making me hungry.
We had a big breakfast. I'm still full from that. Or brunch.
Yeah, it was brunch.
And then ice cream.
Yeah.
chocolate ice cream,
Yeah.
creamy chocolate ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell everybody my menu. Come on, man.
Well, you're the one that brought the subject. And so I didn't know what was getting ready to happen.
Okay.
But then the vocalization started. And we were both
Vocalizations in
like
what?
loud ones, like
Loud
location.
screams
Where
or
they were locating where each other was at. They were setting up for a hunt.
okay.
They were, and my belief is that their main hunt takes place at night.
Well, that's
They set
pretty
up,
much what I see too.
they set up snags. They heard
Yeah,
things.
they're very smart when it comes to
They
hunting.
set up these barrier type things. I've seen many of them in the mountains in Utah, and in Oregon, where it looks like they've dragged brush and snags, and there's like a chute or a funnel that goes into a certain area.
Right.
And I've found bones and stuff in there, and where it looks like, some bones, big bones that snap, and so these vocalizations were real strange. They were really high pitched. They weren't drawn out. They were more like woo, like. And then there was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Only it would be a little bit different. It wouldn't be the same vocalization. It would be like just an answer, like I'm over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're tripping then. I'm thinking, wow, but what if?
Okay. Let me say this. What I found over the 3 yeah. What I found over the 30 years of doing this, what you just described is what I have witnessed here in West Virginia. When it comes to them making high pitched sounds like location, it's not for, hey, go here. It's, hey, I'm here at this point, and hey, I'm here. It's like us saying, hey, yeah. It's exactly what it is. And I've seen that, I've heard that happen at night here in West Virginia. I've also heard that happen in Virginia, once in Virginia, just across the state line from West Virginia. And I've heard it happen other times in Ohio. And you described something that happened in Ohio at Mohican State Forest one night.
I've witnessed it up in a couple of places in Utah, but it was from a distance. It wasn't so close. It was far away.
So you just, I mean, you heard the sounds.
I knew it. They're on a hunt.
Right.
And those sounds they make, I know because when they're them into a frenzy.
Yes,
they're scared to death of Sasquatch.
Well, they're scared to death of humans, but
and
not as bad as a Sasquatch.
So, because I've heard that take place away from camp up in the mountains in Utah and such, that this is why I can say this. That I know that we were right there in a hunt.
In a hunting zone for.
Yeah, I mean we're a mile away from a campground and Shingle Creek campgrounds over another mile away.
Mm-hmm.
We're on an area of the river where there was no sign of anybody ever camping.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Whenever you were there and you heard these vocalizations, why didn't you just break camp and go home, or just jump in a truck and leave?
Because it was beautiful up there. Fishing was good.
Well, I get all that, but if you understood that there was something going to happen at this point, why didn't you just jump in the truck? Or did you just dismiss it? Yeah, that's over across the river. I ain't worried about it.
It had no. It wasn't significant to me. It wasn't. I didn't feel alarmed by it. I was more curious than anything else.
Okay, well, what did your nephew say?
He was. Well, he was. I guess he was kind of a nephew. He was my cousin's. I mean, my future wife's cousin's boy. So I guess it'd be like a nephew.
Cousin.
He called me uncle.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
That's a good thing.
so I guess he could be like a cousin-in-law or a nephew-in-law or whatever, however you want to refer to it. More like a cousin-in-law because he was her cousin.
But he called you uncle, so
right.
you consider him a nephew. It's no big deal.
Right, and I did. I keep that's right. I use that as kind of a pet name towards him, and and because he'd say, "Hey, Uncle KG," and I go, "Hey, nephew," So, we had a lot of good times together. He was an eager learner to learn about just anything that had to do with camping and fishing and the wilderness and hiking. He loved to hike, and that's been years ago. So I was still in really good shape. For my age, I'm still in good shape, but I can't hike like I did then.
Right. I understand.
So, what I didn't know was getting ready to take place was probably a good thing because I probably would have left. But I didn't feel alarmed. I didn't. I had a 22 pistol. We had food. I was drinking then, so I had a half a gallon of Jim Beam. I wasn't not drinking it all at once. No, don't get me wrong. I just at night around the campfire, or I drink it.
Well, Jim Beam's just sipping whiskey.
Yeah.
You don't want to drink a bunch of it at one time.
But I drank back then, and that's I'm a lot of people did when they were younger.
I did too.
I mean, I don't drink anymore. So, but Jordan, he said, "What do you think that was?" I'm thinking here and there. I wonder if that's the Sasquatch. That's those thoughts of course came to my mind, and I would well, let's go back to camp and start a fire and get a bite to eat and stuff. And we talked about me getting married to and stuff and just life in general, all kinds of things. He brought a book that he was reading. It was a history book on the Spanish War, and he was getting ready to do a report on it. I remember that real well. And so we just talked, and he started. I had noticed he kept turning his head because he was where I was at, folks. Was the fire was in front of me, and he was sitting on the other side of the fire, next to the bushes, and sitting on a big log that was there, and I was sitting in a camping chair on the other side of the fire. So, as I think back on this sighting, I know why the creature stepped out and to get a clearer look at us, is because it couldn't see where Jordan was. It couldn't see through the fire, and it couldn't see because of where he was at, and it was a he. It couldn't see Jordan. Once it saw Jordan, it took off. Jordan heard, he said, "It sounds like something's in the water." And I'm going,
in the water?
Yeah.
You mean making footfalls?
He said something's in the water.
Okay, so it wasn't walking on water.
Sure it was. They walk on water. Don't you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
No, not really, folks. Sorry about that.
Well, it's
What's
personal.
going on the last few days with some people that have been commenting on my channel and the video that Ralph did has been kind of a bizarre incident. It's been bizarre.
Basically, we've both been attacked because we stated the truth and they don't like it.
So
That's it.
it is what it is. It was just our turn, I guess. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I vaguely heard something hit the bushes, like, moving in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was total quiet. It was like the only thing you could hear was the river. And that really wasn't that bad through there because it was a long run.
Okay.
I don't like camping. I picked that particular spot to get away from the noise of the river.
Okay.
I'm just like that. I don't like camping next to a creek or a stream where there's a bunch of rapids.
Right, because that makes a lot of noise.
I like to be able to hear into the night.
He's not like me. I fall asleep near to stuff like that. So.
And so I had my attention focused right on the spot where I saw him.
So when you heard the bush move, did you have to turn around?
No, I was looking directly that
or
direction.
you were looking at it from?
I was looking on this side of the fire, to the left of the fire.
Okay.
Straight in that direction.
Okay.
And Jordan said, "There's something standing over there." He couldn't see the upper part of it,
but he could see the lower half.
He started to get up, and I said, "Don't move, don't move."
Yeah.
And then I saw movement and it come out from behind the tree, and then it stepped out. And all its glory.
You mean it took a full step away from the tree?
A full step away from the tree.
Okay.
The knowledge I have now, the first thing I should have done is go. We did see footprints the next day.
Okay.
And that verified. I mean, I was so bewildered from seeing that. The face, the eyes, were
what color were the eyes?
like orangish, like the color of the fire. And with the flashlight, when I hit him in the face with the flashlight, he didn't even flinch.
So
this transpired like in 3 seconds.
Right, I get that, but you're saying the eyes were an orangish color, so his eyes were actually reflecting the light from the fire.
Right.
Okay.
It was almost like I could see the flicker of the fire. I don't say that like I saw the flicker of the fire, but they weren't shining. They weren't like a glow.
Okay, so
like if like a light hits the deer eyes and stuff.
There was no light emitting from the eyes.
Right. And it glanced at me, and then as it was moving to move away, it raised up full height, and that's when I knew it was a male, because he stepped closer to going back the way instead of going back to where I guess he circled around from, he went directly in front of the bush where I had been looking,
mm-hmm.
and back down and across the river. George could hear him. I couldn't hear him very well. But since it's back in the water again, and it went back across the river. Mm-hmm. But for that brief time I saw it, I mean, my God, I describe him as I've seen Mark Eaton before. He played for the Utah Jazz. He's 7'4". Mm-hmm. This thing dwarfs Mark Eaton. And Mark Eaton weighed 260 pounds,
mm-hmm.
or more.
Okay.
Maybe touching closer to 270, 275.
Okay.
So huge
what
man.
What do you think it weighed?
I don't know. It was
6, 7.
It was at least 8.5 feet.
8.5 feet. How much do you think it weighed, though?
600 pounds, 700 pounds.
That's a pretty big boy.
It was like I said, it would have dwarfed Mark Eaton.
Right.
And that's the first thing I thought. Okay, wow, that thing. And I told Jordan, that thing was bigger than Mark Eaton. And he goes, I saw it when it moved back that way. He says, Was that really I said, that was a Sasquatch, my friend. Don't get alarmed. Don't start jumping around. Just sit there.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it's at. Even though it might have gone to the water, I said, it's probably still out there.
Mm-hmm.
Or I said, what if there's more?
Right.
And that really got him a little bit concerned. He was very, very, he took it like a man. He didn't get all, start crying or get all scared. He said, well, do you think we should leave? I go, no, I'm not leaving. I said, uh, it's probably over with, because after that there was zero activity.
Okay. Because they knew you were there.
And he come to get a look. He probably smelled the food, and it probably just wanted to check to see
if you left anything for him.
Well, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's been fed by camp. Maybe campers are less. They scrounge. They scrounge. That area, that whole area along the Uinta Mountains, the Uinta Basin, over by Skinwalker Ranch, Sasquatch Canyon, Iron Mine Mountain, up the Rhodes Canyon area. Uh, uh, what's the name of that mountain? That was Hoyt Mountain, where there's been numerous Sasquatch sightings. The Upper Weaver River area on the other side of Hoyt Mountain. That's an area called what is it? There's a big campground up there. I can't remember the name of it now. It's been a long time since I've been over in that part of the country. But that whole area is rich inside. Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization covers that whole area, and they are on it. When there's a sighting, they go up there and they're finding the evidence, the footprints, casting in them. They find structures, and they find out that other people are seeing these things. Okay, up in there. So I was in the prime location for this.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Once you had your sighting, did you run to somebody and tell them about it? The only person I told caused you to want to find out?
I started looking on. Valerie had she worked for a company the insurance company, and she had used a computer, and so she started looking online because I told her about it. Okay. She believed me. Her dad believed in him. Okay. He had passed away before I had never met him, and
well, he'd probably seen one or something.
But he was always up in the Uintas too, and up at that campground I'd been. They used to hold family gathering up there on the 24th of July, which is a Latter-day Saint celebration of the pioneers in Salt Lake Valley. So it's called Pioneer Day on the 24th of July. So on the 24th every year they used to go up there, the family tradition. And who knows who saw what? If I had a chance to talk more in detail with a couple of her brothers, or had ever got a chance to talk to her dad. But I started finding out things about Sasquatch sightings along the Wasatch Front. I had not South Central Utah that paying any attention to Fish Lake National Forest. But I started finding out that all through that area, numerous Sasquatch sightings near the orchards up in Farmington, and Layton and Ogden and the Ogden and Weaver River area, the trout farm in Ogden, and up in the hot springs area up on the Ogden River, all up through Pio and Oakley, and on the upper Weaver River, numerous sightings. So I was interested in learning that much about it, but I never had a chance. I always wanted to go back to that area and spend a lot of time there, camp like a week, and camp back in that spot to see if anything else would happen. But driving truck, when I went back to driving truck, I took Jordan home, and I went camping up at Flaming Gorge Reservoir after that. I went fishing up Flaming Gorge Reservoir because I just couldn't sit with my back against it. Oh, we've seen the scars on
Yeah.
it.
They're pretty intense.
Yeah, I got this one here went clear to the bone and collarbone. And if I wouldn't have had a hat on, I'd have been severely burned. But from what I took that sighting person, it was a spiritual awakening for me because I always knew about the seven grandfather teaching. And I learned that if I were to ever talk about this to somebody, to only give what I saw and never misrepresent this life or tell falsifications about it. My people told me the same thing when I told them about my sighting, which was 8-9 years later.
Okay.
I visited the reservation and I told some elders about it. And, they just told me, don't ever misrepresent the knowledge you gained from that you took personally. Don't ever build upon that to try to impress somebody. You have to tell the truth about what you saw, and if you do, if somebody asks you about it, try to help them to understand, because these beings can be really scary. I mean, they're intimidating. I felt intimidated. Something that big that creep up on me like that. That's why I took it personal, because I'm very knowledgeable. I'm a good tracker.
Right.
And
you keep finding that goofy female that keeps coming over here. I would stop looking for it.
Well, I'm not looking for it. I just go out and start looking around, and when I'm here alone is when I hear the vocalizations.
And there's a reason behind that. I do believe. I told you about me seeing that big male walking at the end of my yard over here in the little line of trees.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about that sighting that I had here at my house. I don't mean to interrupt you, KG, and I beg your forgiveness for interrupting you.
You're not interrupting me. I'm thinking about something I wanted to say, and I've got it retained, so
okay,
we're good.
But that sighting happened at 4 a.m. one morning. Went out to my personal vehicle, my pickup, to get a can of snuff, and when I opened the door on the pickup, the headlights come on. And the headlights of the pickup were on. And I leaned in the truck, grabbed my can of snuff, and when I stood back up, it was standing there looking at me, and I could see the eyes because they were reflecting the light. And it was standing there.
It wasn't a shine, though, was it? It wasn't like a...
It was a reflection of the light from off its pupils. That's all it was.
In other words, its eyes were absorbing the light.
Right. And they were showing up red. You know how humans, if you flash a person.
Well, briefly, when I hit it with the flashlight, so there would have been his right eye was more of a reddish orange. Because as soon as I hit it with the light, like I said, it was there to check out where Jordan was. That's why it stepped
because
out.
it couldn't see.
It couldn't see
the fire.
And I'm glad that he was able to see more than the legs, because he did see something standing there. He said he saw it moving when it went between the fire and the bush. And the trees on this side, just directly in this direction, and then the fire's here, and he's over here. There's all these big tall bushes. There's elderberries and oak and cottonwood trees, smaller cottonwood trees and larger cottonwood trees, just heavily forested right where he was, right there. And it's a good thing he didn't get snatched sitting there,
Well, that'd have been a prime position to get him snatched by, yeah.
But the main message, the people I've talked to about this, Cecil, stop, don't leave the cat alone. he won't harm the cat. He just wants to play chase. He has been around a cat before that's what they used to do. The cat would chase him, and he'd turn around and chase the cat. So he wants to still do that, which and
Yeah, she's not ready for that.
she's getting comfortable though. She still hisses at him. The message I like to relay to people is, if you haven't done anything to provoke them, and you have a sighting, the best thing to do is not get all excited and get all. Don't let them smell your fear.
Right. In other words, don't drain your bladder down your leg.
Because I did say out loud, I said, "What?" You know, I did. I think I might have said, "No way." Really? You know, something.
That's not a reaction most people have.
And I was so bewildered that I am seeing this so close. I mean, it's a first down away from it, 10, 12 yards away, 12 yards maybe.
Okay.
And for that to step out and just be so bold is why I took it so personal. And I'm thinking after that, now that's not right. Something sneaking up on me. I know when there's bears and I've had many mountain lions come close to my camp at night, just being nosy.
Yeah, because they can smell food that you've cooked,
right?
And so on and so forth.
And you're just not in the right spot. I never camp in a spot where I've got something high above me other than trees, which still they could get on you from a tree, but I stay away from ledges and areas where they can get up above me, on solid ground. So I try to take their leaping away from them.
Yeah, because they don't typically like to leap out of a tree. It's just like a house cat when it comes to a mountain lion. If they climb a tree, they'll get up there so high to where they're comfortable, but they don't want to leap from that height. They'll come 4, 5, 6 feet off the ground and they'll leap off the side of the tree. They just don't, it scares the daylights out of them, I guess, once it's above 6 foot in height. And because they know they can get injured. And a wild animal like that injured, it's not a good thing for anybody. But, and usually it means their death. So that's why they don't do it. I know.
What? Oh, nobody. Well, come on up here.
So, what happened after it went back across the creek with, you and Jordan saw it, or river? I keep forgetting. Y'all have rivers out there. Y'all don't have very many creeks like we do right here. We have creek everywhere you go. But what happened to you and Jordan? Did y'all just stay up the rest of the night?
Stay up for a while, just talking about it. And he was really surprised. He asked me questions. I don't know how to answer your questions. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He said, do they have young? I says, from what I've heard, they do, yes. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know how many of them there are yet. How many do you think there are? And as I think back, I know for sure there was 2 of them, and there was probably more.
If they're going to hunt, it's usually 3 to 5 in a party, I believe.
And like
that's
I said,
most efficient.
I didn't hear anything after that. Not nothing. And we left the next afternoon, late in the afternoon.
And you drove him home, and then you went home yourself.
I went up to Flaming Gorge Reservoir. I wanted to fish the Green River,
mm-hmm.
which comes out of. That's one.
So that didn't deter you at all, wanting to go fishing somewhere else.
No, there was a fisherman up there that below the dam at Flaming Gorge that I wasn't going to camp there, but I decided to because of him. He wanted somebody to fish with, and he had seen me fly fishing, and I was having some success. So I showed him what I was using, and he had a fly tying kit with him.
Mm-hmm.
He copied a couple of my flies, and so we fished together for a couple of days. And he was a good old boy. He lives in Rock Springs, Wyoming,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't that far from Thunder Gorge. And I've seen him a couple of times when I drove truck, because I used to fuel him. And so I called. Last time I saw him, I think, was in 2007, 2008. Right there. He still fishes the Green River. That's one of the top trout fishing streams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And but every time I had the chance to go fishing, it was only for a few hours or maybe just overnight and have to come home because I had to leave. And I would always think about these beings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would always think about it. And I thought about them for many years that I continued to drive truck. When I'd go through certain areas, I just had this feeling that this is Sasquatch country. And I've told you this before about that area between Laramie, Wyoming, and Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I know about it.
That's boulder country right up, and it's very heavily forested right there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
go over that pass, and that's just north of Red Feather Lakes area where there's
Yeah, there's
buku Sasquatch sighting.
I've been through that pass. You know, when I've been driving out west.
It's 287. That's Highway 287.
And I've drove across that pass, and as soon as you start up one side or the other, you just get this. Your hair stands up on your arm, and it's like an electric feeling to me. And I can look at my arms, and I'm going, yeah, there's a big critter. And you just know it in your mind, you know it in your heart, and your body just is tingling all over, and your arms, your hair, everywhere is standing on it. Well, you can see I don't have any on my head.
I've got that feeling driving over the Bighorns in Wyoming and through places in Montana, northern Idaho, and through Ladd's Canyon, where you did a video about dropping down between Ladd's Canyon and the Grand Oregon. That guy got his bull stolen. And
yeah, that area there, that's definitely squatchy as all get out.
Oh yeah, I get that feeling because I used to go there all the time. That's where the Wallowa Mountains and the Blue Mountains meet. That's where my mother grew up in Elgin, Oregon. So I always had them feelings, and those are places I like to go camp because I've always wanted. Ever since I've gotten a device, a smartphone, I want one on video on the move. I just don't want pictures of them. And I posted a picture of the sighting I had up here, and I have Barb as a witness that she saw it too. And you could see that there was something that was in the fog, and there was something there behind that stump up there. But it just wasn't clear enough. And I don't want to post things like that to mislead anybody to say that look, you gotta look in there and see it. It's there when there's really nothing there. There's enough of that going on to where it's misleading, and it can be damaging people that are out there and basically in an area where they're in harm's way
and don't know it.
Or
they see a video of somebody puts up of pictures that they've taken, and they've blown it up and made a blob squatch out of it, and they look at it and they start laughing about it. And the truth about the area could be there's an area here in West Virginia that how about this? I'll tell you all this. This spring and summer, me and KG are going to go out and do a technique that I used to do with a couple of good friends of mine, and that would go out and go squatching with me. And we're going to post those videos. whether we get anything or not. And I'm going to be man enough, and KG's going to be man enough to tell you, hey, we didn't get a thing. We're not going to lie about it. If we don't get something, we're going to post it anyway. There's no sense in lying about it. Now, if we go out and we get something along the Freeman footage or the Patterson and Gimlin, of Patty, or, we get a full-fledged on video of a Bigfoot that is walking around a tree after we do this technique that we're going to do.
It's a good technique too.
And it works.
I never thought about that.
Well, nobody else has.
No, I've never heard nobody talk about it. Never.
And it works. And all you need is to be in a squatchy area that is known to have sightings and go in there and just catch them in there. Even in the daytime, you can catch them moving around as long as there ain't 12, 16 people with you. And there's a reason I say that. You take 12 or 16 people in an area in the daytime, and Bigfoot will hunker down. They'll crawl into the thickest brush that they can hide underneath and disappear. They're not going to move. If you take 2 people in there, they get inquisitive. Not 12 to 16 people.
Too many people moving around, too much noise.
Too much noise. They don't want to interact with me and you. They don't want to see us.
They know from a long ways away
that you're coming.
And if they know it's 2 people, that technique that you described to me is perfect because it's going to be confusing.
Right. You've got to defeat one of their senses, which they have the same 5 senses we do. They don't have other senses that they can call upon. They got 5. And that defeats, it messes with their head. Okay, this person did this, and they kept doing, they can't focus on both of you. They have to focus on the one that's moving. Just like any game animal that's out there or any other predator, they focus upon the movement of a person.
Folks might be wondering what this being looked like in the face. It had a very smooth face. Mm-hmm. It wasn't real dark. It was dark, but it was more like, I've used the term handsome.
Yeah, you did with me.
When I told you about it, it was like, you could tell its head was shaped, I say gorilla-ish. And
could be a type 1 that she's ran into. They're more prevalent out west.
Very, no neck to speak of. Just, you could tell there was separation between the throat area and the chest. Mm-hmm. His shoulders were very wide, very powerful looking, and his arms were really long. And when he stood up, he seemed to climb another foot and a half to what is the height.
Well, they have the habit of leaning forward and kind of hunkering down a little bit.
He had started his sway as he was standing there, just barely. And that was kind of strange. But his eyes were just so intense, and his nose was flat and kind of out this way, like
kind of spread out,
like a boxer's nose in a way, I guess you could say, sort of like pushed in, you know, and you could see the flare of his nostrils. You know, his mouth was slim, and just massive. I mean, that's what really floored me, was how massive the thing was. and the legs were just unbelievable. I mean, just I sure in the hell wouldn't have wanted to in a tangle with something, trying to defend myself. There would be no way you could defend yourself against something like that.
Well, let me ask you a question. You said you had a 22 with you. Did you go for it when it was standing there?
I thought about it. I had gone over where I was sitting. I was able to reach. I grabbed the flashlight and then I stood up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it focused on me. At first, it was when there were Jordan was, but when I stood up is when it focused on me, and I didn't grab. I knew what's a 22 going to do to something like that?
Pretty much nothing. Make it mad?
I mean, seriously. No, I didn't grab the gun, and it's probably a good thing I didn't. Is there any questions there?
Mm-mm.
No, I didn't grab the gun.
So after everything was said and done, you went fishing. How long after your sighting did you
I
start
did grab
getting
the gun
into?
afterwards. I took it out of the holster and I carried it when I went to the fire where the firewood was.
Uh-huh.
I did. Then I did, yeah. I
But
don't know why I just did. Just out of made me feel more comfortable. Well,
personally,
we went to bed, and like I said, there was no more activity after that.
so how long after you had all the sighting and you took Jordan home and you went fishing the next time, how long was it before you started doing what you do now, going out and investigating
And
areas?
that was in 1995. So from 1995 until 3 years ago,
2019. Hmm.
I
It's a long
quit.
time.
I quit. Last time I drove truck was December 23rd, 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I, I had shoulder surgery, and was in the process of trying to find out what I wanted to do, and uh, started making plans on trying to further my education. And when I got my first really good smartphone, and I started borrowing my neighbor's computer, uh, I started investigating. I started watching people on YouTube, and a lot of what was it, Cecil? What is it? Somebody driving by with that.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good about that. He doesn't love too much to get by him, that's for sure. But I just decided to start a YouTube channel, and I've always wanted to be able to tell people. This may sound a little bit arrogant, but I've always wanted to be able to tell people, "I told you so."
Mm-hmm.
That's not a driving force in me anymore. It doesn't matter. I mean, I never got in this to. I knew people were getting paid for running ads and selling stuff on their channels and stuff like that. And that wasn't my intention to go there. It just wasn't. I didn't feel inclined to do that, you know. And I never had a problem with you doing that because we had discussed it prior to you doing that. And uh, understanding that there's things that need to be taken care of, and always a little bit of extra helps. And I know that you're frustrated that with the way that works with YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and really, folks, there's uh, it's really not worth it because I've seen what he gets paid here and there, which is just morsels. It's just like
Yeah, with today's gas prices, what we got paid, what we got the other day in the bank account was barely enough to cover a tank full of my pickup. So, you know, That's about it.
Yeah, so there's a lot more. I mean, uh, there's an avenue, I guess, that, you know, the more subscribers you get or whatever, yeah, there's people that are making a living doing this, or really supplementing their income,
Right.
whatever, with whatever. And I'm sure that there's people that that uh, are on uh, supplemental Social Security income or whatever it is that they may be on, that are surviving real well doing this.
Right. Well, I have no problem with that. I personally have no problem with that. The only thing is, when you make up things to make your income and you make everybody else want to believe that what you're saying is 100% truth and it's 100% falsehood, is when I have a problem. That's when KG has a problem.
I've been taught different, folks. Understand that one side of my family is white. They're Germans. Uh, they come from the Lutheran faith, and then members of my family became members of the Latter Day Saint Church. Strong Christian beliefs. The other side of my family is Native American, and I grew up learning about the seven teachings and how um, they fit with the Ten Commandments, and how from the seven grandfather teachings that each one of them represents a way to become a better person,
Right.
to recognize things that you come up against in your life that will help you endure and persevere, and to be able to sustain you and your family in a way that isn't that follows the guidelines of being trying to be a righteous person, to live in the light, so to speak. And I started to do a series of videos explaining those. And I'm just not going to do it anymore because um, I can talk about those things as I'm out with Ralph or out on my own, or I can refer to something that I've learned and put it in with a video. But to sit down, it's very hard to just to sit down and talk about those things. It really is. For me, it is because um, uh, I know ahead of time that just like what happened with uh, with this person that came onto my channel, I started to try to be friendly, and um, that person tried to tell me that I shouldn't stop doing the seven grandfather teachings. And then as I started making comments in return, it brought you into the picture. When I started telling my beliefs about interdimensional beings and misrepresentations and falsehoods, it took off in another direction. And because I had mentioned you uh, in a comment, um, it was warranted part to you in her comment. You got something to say to him, you need to go to him and tell him. Don't tell me. And then that happened to me again today on from somebody else that that person took my video and shared it, and I started getting attacked for um, what happened between me and this other person, and I just threw my hands up and said, whatever. I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm going to try to put a kibosh right now. And if it continues to go on, look out, because I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
Right.
You know, look out. I don't care. I only have like 525 subscribers or whatever. I don't care if somebody goes against somebody that I love and is a friend of mine. my loyalty runs deep.
Right.
I'm going to go to that person. I'm going to tell them, do you know that so and so has said this, or has attacked you this way, or whatever. I even lost some subscribers over this. I don't care. I cannot misrepresent something that I know is different, that it's differently. You know, the way that I was raised, living on the reservation for 3 years, understanding what these beings are, and yes, they have helped people. There has been exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
There has been incidents where people have been, I guess you could say, helped by them.
Leaving a deer on the front porch.
Leaving it.
Leaving herbs and roots that are edible, and apples, and picking stuff for them because they can't get out of the house. They got a broken leg, whatever. I know all about those, like KG does, and yes, they can help you when they so choose.
For whatever reason, whatever their intention is, I don't see any ill will intention when they do that, because most of the time they just move on.
Right. They just go want to do whatever they're going to do.
And don't bother. Now, there's those that, for whatever reason, torment people.
Yeah, and I've dealt with those. Those are not fun.
I've seen people like that that are interviewed. Ask them the questions. Well, what the heck are you tormenting them? Are you shooting at them, or are you acting a fool and trying to scare them, or set out poison? Or I don't ever hear these questions being asked during these interviews. Why? Get to the root of what's going on.
Right.
There might be something that individual has done,
either knowingly or unknowingly.
Either knowingly or unknowingly, to provoke them, or that they've been gifting them, feeding them, and then all of a sudden stop. You're asking for trouble.
That is the biggest. In the 15 years I help people, that is the biggest issue. If you know you got Bigfoot on your property and you set out a bushel of apples twice a week, or you put out, or you shoot a deer and you drag it to a certain spot and leave it for the Bigfoot, and you don't do that constantly, well, now you got an 900 pound group of Bigfoot, each weighing 600 to 900 to 1,200 pounds, that can rip you apart in seconds, acting like 2-year-olds, throwing a temper tantrum because you took their favorite toy away. So all you parents out there, you know what I'm talking about, or aunts and uncles, you know exactly what I'm saying.
One thing I did notice about that being's hands is the pronounced fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention that to you.
Okay.
Not claws.
No, fingernails like not like mine. I chew mine, so it's a bad habit.
Dangerous looking.
Right. And they can, well, you got to think.
And that almost makes me wonder if they spend time with it, because the way they were shaped. If
they don't take a stone
if they don't do their own manicure.
Well, they probably do.
I don't know. I'm just saying that very, very ominous looking hands. Huge hands.
Well,
very. I mean, just they're different. They appear human in their appearance, but there's a way about them that radiates to you. I'm the boss.
Well, something that big can be, yeah.
I'm in charge.
Right.
And it's a good thing that it could see Jordan. I'm often wondering what would it have done if it wouldn't have been able to spot Jordan.
It would have probably moved to where it could have found him.
It probably would have come right into camp
Yeah.
along the bushes
Right.
and the trees.
Right. It would have. Yeah.
Because it wanted to know where he was at.
It did not. It felt, look, people, Bigfoot, they're a tactical type mentality in their head. And when I mean tactical, you better think military, because everything they do is for their betterment. It's not for yours. It's for theirs, their survival, nothing else. And if they don't, and if they feel threatened by not being able to see you, or if they know there's two of you, that which they probably watched y'all during the day and saw there's two of you.
That's apparent. I have no doubt about that.
They did not know where he was at because he couldn't see through the flames to see Jordan. So in his mind, to him, he came to recon y'all, to see what y'all were doing, if y'all were there to interrupt their ability to hunt, to gather food. And if you were, his job would more than likely would have been, because he probably wasn't the big boy. He probably wasn't the alpha, because the alpha doesn't recon. The alpha comes in and settles issues. His job, probably told to him by the alpha, when you heard them holler at each other, was he was told, he probably went to the alpha where the alpha was at and was instructed, you go see what they're doing, get eyes on both of them, and report back to me. If there's an issue, you can't find both of them, you do whatever is necessary to find both of them. That means, in his mind, if he had to go through you to find him, to find Jordan, to find that 14-year-old kid, that's what would have happened. It's for their survival. They have to be that way. And they act that way for survival. The same way we would.
The way his eyes move, I can dream about it once in a while.
It still bothers you this day.
It doesn't. It isn't like it bothers me. It's just it's like I'm being looked at in my sleep. You know how you have nightmares.
Oh, I still have them about the one I saw.
It isn't like it's a nightmare. I don't wake up sweating and going, "Oh wow." Well,
I do.
I have never had a nightmare like that about him, but the intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see it.
Their awareness, and you could see the shift in its eyes as soon as it saw Jordan, like they were relieved.
Like, yeah, now I don't have to do what I was instructed.
His eyes changed that intensity of looking, mm-hmm. And that's when it got the heck out of it.
It did its job. What it was instructed to do by the alpha.
How do you know it wasn't the alpha?
I understand that, but you're talking out west, and 9 times out of the, I have yet to have ever seen an alpha do recon, and what that Bigfoot was doing was recon.
Yeah, you're probably right, and because Big Red that I saw through binoculars is way bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And that was from across the canyon, a smaller canyon.
And he's probably got a couple of family groups that he visits.
And that thing was pretty intense. It had 22-inch footprints.
Yeah, he's pretty big.
Because I went down there and looked where it was standing. And
he's probably weighing in a 900,000, 1,100 pound range.
22 inches. Yeah.
He's a big boy.
I went down there while the sun was shining down in that canyon. I waited. I sat up there on that ridge, waiting for the sun to to come over, because this was the east, and I was waiting for the sun to get high in the noon hour. And I went down there. I gotta go look. See, I know I saw him. I got to verify, and I videoed all that, and it was I posted it, and I ended up taking it down because it was drawing some heat, and I had to take it down. Just,
Okay.
you know my reasons,
I know.
and so back to where I was talking about my channel and the subscribers and stuff like that. I will speak out, folks, about falsification, misrepresentations, things that I've been taught different, that I believe in. I have just as much right as people that are out there explaining their beliefs. I have the same right to do that. The difference with me is I'm speaking from
Actual
experiences that I've witnessed, and that people that have told me on the reservation that have had experiences, and they don't lie about it. You do not. You just don't. You don't. You don't. There's a Chippewa that's on Utah. I mean, on YouTube, that misrepresents them, and he's talked about it on the reservation. And he, I've gone to his channel and spoken to him in Chippewa, and told him that, hey,
You're not right, man.
have you given thought to what you're doing? And he even admitted to me that well, I need the money.
Yeah.
He says, I'm doing this because I need the money, and what I'm telling you, he called me by my native name, Newton, which means there is a wind, and he says it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter to me at all. So that was that. That was, but at the same time, he says, I appreciate what you've done. He says, I needed that, and the only one I would accept that from is another member of the nation. He couldn't discredit me. He wouldn't even try, because that would bring big heat on him.
Right.
Well, and I didn't try to discredit him, because all as we spoke, we deleted each other's comments. That was an agreement. I said, I'm going to delete my comment after you have a chance to read it. And he was on it. He stayed on, and we communicated back and forth. And each one of our comments we deleted. Okay. So there was no outside
interference.
And I did it on an older video of his. And he didn't answer that my first response for 3 or 4 months until he finally seen it.
So,
and so I guess he no notification never came up. I don't know, but maybe he wanted to think about it for a while too. But so it was on a video that had already had quite a few views, and I didn't do it on any of his current newer videos. So I thought about that too. I got
out of respect.
I got to go back. I got to go back a long ways. He had like 200 videos, and I went back to like his 8th or 9th one.
Well, KG, we've been here for an hour and 24 minutes, and I've got to do Discord here shortly.
If anybody wants to talk to me or Ralph, just go to the comment section on the videos we do, and don't don't be hesitant to open up and share your experiences or your thoughts or your beliefs. And you're not going to get discredited by him or me if you're being open and being for real.
And sincere about what you're talking about.
Being sincere about what you're talking about. Just don't, you know, I put this warning out there to those folks that want to come and try to start an argument with me or get ugly right off the jump. I won't tolerate it, because that's unfortunate. This platform for doing this is just gone way out of control. It really has.
Yeah, it's gotten bad.
It's gotten really bad, and I'm sure that a lot of you, I know that there's people on my channel that agree with that. I've had people tell me they've unsubscribed from certain channels because of this and that that's going on. And so, for new people that come to YouTube, I feel bad for them. People that have had experiences and they're trying to find out
what these things are
or who to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for them.
Yeah,
I do. I feel for them.
Yep. Because
take care, everybody, and stay easy, breezy, and frosty, and remember that we all need to persevere and sustain ourselves in a way that is pleasing unto the Great Spirit, and pave our own personal road to our salvation. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And try to bring people with you that are dear to you, you know, that you give your heart to. That's all I got to say.
Well, buddy, brother, thank you for coming and having a sit-down chat with me.
I'm already here.
Well, coming over here and sitting down and talking. Walking across the room, bud.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk about this sighting, the most important things about, you know, the things that pertain to the build-up. The thing that stands out the most to me was the lady that, when I was still camped out the other campground, it says, "There's something going on in the woods." And I said, just out of the blue, I got my fly rod in my hand and a couple of fish in the other, and I just blurted out, "It could be a Sasquatch." Little did that was, and it was.
Yeah.
You know, that's what was ironic about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that lady goes, she goes, "Really?" And I just go, I don't know. You know,
it might be. And then you get to prove it. You get to see one.
And I got to see it. That was.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Now you got to look at my ugly face. Yeah, it's not very pretty. Just don't tell my wife that. She'll look at you real strangely. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all coming. And as always, may you always be blessed by the Most High.
I forgot to mention the knocking that was going on too from on the side of the river we were on, and the answers from way far away on the other. But that was real brief, and that was before the vocalizations.
Right.
That was like, I'm over here, and I'm over here. And for whatever those mean, it is what it is. You know?
Right.
So,
like I said, thank you for coming and getting to watch two very good friends and Christian brothers sit down and talk about Bigfoot and hear the honesty. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm blessed by y'all being here, and I thank you. And stay tuned. This summer, you're going to get videos of either Bigfoot or not no Bigfoot, and we're going to tell you in the titles. Yeah, we got a Bigfoot on video, or no, we didn't get one on video. I'm not going to lie to you. tell you the truth. That's what I'm here for. That was what I was given. To do. I'm not here to lie to you. People need to know the truth, and they're going to learn the truth. Thank you all for coming, and may you all be blessed. Bye now.